Mohammed Salah's new club. The legend of the Reds said goodbye to Liverpool. We're discussing this and more today. Friends, this is a dose of football and the top 10 loudest events of the past year. Friends, the video is experimental, so I hope for your support in the form of likes. Let's gather 5,000 thumbs up today. We'll definitely see each other tomorrow. Well, I wish you a pleasant appetite and a pleasant viewing. Probably one of the brightest events of the past year is the winning of the Golden Ball by the defender. This is something so rare that I personally, until the insiders about the fact that Real Madrid will not come to the ceremony, did not believe at all that Rodri would become the best player of the year. The Spaniard himself, by the way, was also preparing for the fact that the title would go to Vinicius. We're accustomed to awards being given to attacking players. Well, in defense, you can create real miracles, but they still ignore them. At most, they include them in the top 10, and that's if they're lucky. But Rodri did the impossible. How? The secret to greatness is simple. He played perfectly. Rodri has it all. He's technical, he's cunning, mobile, tenacious, resilient, with a measured strike, a fabulous pass, and a beautiful vision of the game. He also has a powerful body, and his spirit is also cool, after all. He is the mental leader of Manchester City. For some, the ideal pivot is Kanté or Makelele, the so-called Cerberus, who cleans up for the whole team and is capable of spending the entire match in tackles. But for some, it's Busquets, Pirlo, maybe even Xhaka. Kanté or Makelele were not masters of passing and moving the ball. Busquets and Pirlo were not exactly known for their reliability when it came to positional defense. Well, Rodri combined everything in himself. There simply was no such player. In theory, Paul Pogba had a chance to become someone like Rodri, but his attitude towards the job ruined everything. But Rodri is extremely disciplined and hardworking, and therefore so stable that he usually has one, at most, 2 bad matches in a season. Some say that Rodri was given the Golden Ball only because he won both the Euro and the APL. And they wonder why the Golden Ball wasn't given to Carvajal, who did the same thing. Well, instead of the APL, he won the Liga. But Rodri earned the title in his first game, and the trophy is just a consequence. No wonder, losing such a player, Man City broke down right away. By the way, Madrid managed quite well without Vinicius last season. Bellingham failed to score. Even Pep Guardiola couldn't think of a substitute for Rodri. A unique footballer received a unique Golden Ball, and we still don't fully realize how important it is. The WM. He received it was absolutely not a hyped player, playing in an absolutely unhyped position. Who knows, maybe this is the beginning of a new era in this award. The Golden Ball Rodri is such an exception that it seems like some step into the future. The same step the Spaniard made for all football, when he brought the role of a pivot to a previously unseen level. Last year, a real era ended. Jurgen Klopp left Anfield after 9 years of work at the club. Under the Germans' leadership, Liverpool's crisis period finally ended. The team returned to the top of English football and became a real threat to all of Europe. This coach managed to squeeze the maximum even out of modest resources against the backdrop of competitors. He spent almost 9 years trying to compete with Manchester City for the championship. Moreover, he brought the first goal to Liverpool in the history of the modern Premier League. But most importantly, Jurgen Klopp has set the team in attacking football, which has brought results and won the hearts of even neutral fans. After years of instability for the Scouts, such a change meant a lot. At the end of last season, Jurgen Klopp made the decision to say goodbye to Anfield Road. The genre's laws dictate that such changes should have negatively impacted the team's performances. Fears arose that Liverpool would once again find itself in the midst of a crisis. In other words, there will be a rollback to the time before Jurgen Klopp joined the team. When the German departed, his successor's name was already known throughout the football world. Arne Slot was supposed to replace Klopp as the head coach of Liverpool. What they knew at that moment about the Dutch coach? He had never worked outside of his homeland. He never even left the Netherlands in his everyday life as a footballer. What were the average expectations of this coach? I think many feared a repeat of the Emu and Erik ten Hag situation. But Arne Slot exceeded everyone's expectations without a doubt. Liverpool closed the transfer window with the sole purchase of Federico Chiesa. There was also Georgi Mamardashvili, but he stayed in Valencia on a lease. That is, Liverpool essentially entered the new season with the same lineup. Under the new coach, they didn't buy anyone at all. No Feyenoord player was sent off for a promotion. Somehow, new life had to be breathed into this lineup and replace the charismatic Jurgen Klopp on the sidelines. This is a 3-star task, no less. Despite all the skepticism, Arne Slot not only kept the team at the previous level, he achieved progress with it. The tactics have become more variable. Now Liverpool does not stick to one and the same setup throughout the entire match. It changes. Even depending on the opponent's changes, the team's game changes. Because of such elaboration and attention to detail, Arne Slot is breaking records together with Liverpool. Only one thing can be said. No one in the history of the Premier League has achieved such results in their first season, and this gives us an understanding of how good the Dutchman is. I'm not even talking about the first places in the Premier League and the Champions League. Somehow Arne Slot became an exception to the rule, and not only replaced Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool, he surpassed him. The management crisis of Barcelona deserves separate attention. Everything was bad in this regard from the very beginning of the year. Barcelona had just washed off the previous scandal when it got mired in a new one. The series of negative events led to the fact that what is happening in Catalonia is now seen as a circus performance. Someone is suffering under the dome, but a smile still breaks through. Where did it all start? The first red flag was the situation with Xavi. The coach made a tough decision for himself and announced his departure at the end of the season. But after these words, the team's results went downhill. The fans became more favorable towards the Spaniard, and President Joan Laporta did not miss this opportunity. The appointment of a new coach meant financial losses for Barcelona. It was necessary to pay compensation to the predecessor and include the successor's salary in the financial report. To rid himself of unnecessary problems, the president decided to put pressure on the coach so that he would take his words back and stay. And it was funny to watch this. Laporta said Xavi will stay as he has Barcelona's deoxyribonucleic acid and will help the club in a difficult moment. Xavi, however, long denied it. Every journalist's question ended the same. Nothing has changed, I plan to leave. It was a shame to reveal the Spaniard. In the end, his determination wavered. He did take his words back, but it was only a half victory. After Xavi announced that he was staying in Barcelona, the team's results went downhill. What did the president do? He fired the coach. This happened a month after Xavi's announcement. But don't think that this is the end. The Clownade has just started. They tried selling base players in the summer to reduce payroll. Robert Lewandowski, Rafinha, and Frankie de Jong were targeted. But no one left. Even the campaign to discredit the Dutchman did not help Joan get rid of his record salary. However, it turned out that the president is not averse to using dirty methods. Although no one was sold, Laporte had to earn the respect of the fans. After the failure with the purchase of Nick Williams, the president of Barcelona switched to Dani Olmo and quickly closed his transfer, which cost the club's purse 55 million euros. The transfer is undoubtedly good, but the inflated salary did not allow Laporte to register the player. A purchased footballer who could not play, this is another blow to the president's reputation. They had to use the scam with the fictitious injury of Andres Christensen to declare Olmo at least for half a season. Laporta knew resources had to be found to register the Spaniard before the winter window started. But a few days before the deadline, it turned out that no attempts had been made in this direction. The option written in the summer contract stated that the player could terminate the agreement if the club could not register him. In addition to this, he would receive full compensation for the remaining years of the contract, having the full right to leave as a free agent. Why didn't the president take any steps in advance to avoid becoming a laughingstock for the entire football world again? This is a riddle of Jack Fresco. I'll say it straight, it's not a hindrance to wag the tongue, but Joana Laporte is the first in spirit, but much more so. Barca was remembered last year for little more than positives, but there were scandals galore. Nearly all were related to the president's actions or inaction. Joan Laporta managed to create such a negative background around Barcelona in just 1 year. In the 24th, at last, an event occurred that had been hanging over the football story for about 5 years. In the end, Kylian Mbappe ended up at Santiago Bernabeu. Real Madrid's president Florentino Perez opened an expensive cognac that had been long awaiting its turn. It was his long-held dream and unfulfilled goal. They even refused it at some point when the Frenchman once again undermined the leadership of Real. How much could have been done already? The player transfer from Monaco was unsuccessful. Then Paris Saint-Germain won the duel for the young forward. But then followed 4 years of unsuccessful attempts by Florentino Perez to sign Kylian Mbappe. Every time Madrid was close to an agreement with the forward, he chose Paris Saint-Germain. The president of Madrid seemed not to be one of those who would tolerate such a relationship. There were even rumors that Real would forever refuse attempts to sign Kylian Mbappe. But as soon as a chance arose, all the negative hype about the Frenchman seemed to dissipate. Madrid re-entered negotiations with the forward and finally secured a sensational transfer. The Frenchman moved to Santiago on a free agent basis, but his transfer cannot be called financially beneficial. He was offered a 5-year contract for 350 million euros, that is, 70 million per season. The distribution is as follows: 30 million for tax payments directly to the player's salary and 40 million in bonuses. When a great player moves to a great club, a great game is immediately expected from him. Kylian Mbappe's statement at the presentation only reinforced the confidence in the player's readiness to give his all for the real emblem. But expectations clashed with reality. The team was not ready for the move of such a football great. Carlo Ancelotti had to scratch his head for a long time on how to deploy all his attacking potential on the field at once. And this is under the condition that it is absolutely impossible to sacrifice the French. But it always turned out that one piece of the puzzle was always superfluous. There hasn't been a situation in half a season where Bellingham, Rodrigo, Vinicius, and Mbappe came out on the field together, and no one was knocked out of the game. Currently, the best option appears to be selling Vinicius. You can get a record amount of money for him and solve all the club's financial problems. Mbappe will take his position, Rodrigo will be on the right, and the false nine functions will return to Bellingham. In the end, Real Madrid will have to sacrifice their star, who was close to winning the golden ball for the president's pleasure. So far, this is the conclusion after half a season in Kylian Mbappe's Madrid Grand. Last year, the England team got rid of its main curse. Gareth Southgate finally left the team after losing in the European Championship final. This event became significant in the English team's history. Finally, the team's potential can be fully utilized. If you look closely at England's results under Southgate's leadership, you can see some good achievements. She reached the final in the last 2 European Championships. She also always made it to the playoffs of the World Championship. In the overall history of the England team, such results can be rated a solid 5. Now let's add a couple of strokes for context understanding. The era of Gareth Southgate has seen the best generation of the national team in modern history. I like the fact that the attacking line of the English, in the faces of Jude Bellingham, Bukayo Saka, Phil Foden, and of course Harry Kane, was worth more than €500 million in total. Many participants of the last Euro did not have such a costly starting lineup. And here are just 4 main attacking players. Despite this, England played passively. The most expensive team with the strongest attacking line showed the real anti-football. Twice, this could have cost the team an early exit at the previous Euro stage. The first time, Southgate saved a beautiful strike from Bellingham through himself in the final seconds of the game with Slovakia. Later, the Eastern European team was outplayed in overtime. The second time, the rescue in the last minutes came from Bukayo Saka, who stunned the Swiss goalkeeper with a strike from mid-distance. But in the final, luck turned away from England. This time, she was penalized before the end of the second half and lost the match. Immediately after the final whistle, it became known that Gareth Southgate would not remain at the helm of the team. English team fans breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, they have a chance to enjoy beautiful play by the team. It was temporarily coached by Lee Carsley, but the name of the official successor, Gareth Southgate, is already known. The eccentric and emotional Thomas Tuchel will become their coach. Under the guidance of the German coach, football in the England team will undoubtedly change. How much will it change? That's a question for the future. The year 2024 was a tough year for Manchester City. Despite the victory in the APL behind closed doors, the issue of 115 financial violations in the city began. As a result, City could be sent to the championship or even to the amateur divisions. And in the worst-case scenarios, it's about taking away the trophies won dishonestly. But the court has not yet ruled. It will only be announced this year and is a clear contender for the list of main events of 2025. But last year, the team crisis and Pep Guardiola's personal crisis, which had nothing to do with these investigations, shocked everyone. Guardiola has never encountered anything like this in his career, and no one thought he would. Pep handled all the difficulties without any particular nerves, and the only hint of a crisis in his coaching career could be considered a small setback in Bavaria. City provided Guardiola with an Emirati budget and the opportunity to assemble a squad without worrying about money, and Pep assembled a long bench full of top-class players. For such a team, even second place in the table can be considered a failure. Even the English Premier League, with its wealthy clubs, no one, not even close, competes with the giants in terms of the average level of players. And of course, before the season, Manchester City was the favorite in both the English Premier League and the Champions League. The English Premier League, by the way, with some crazy lead. Artificial intelligence gave City an 80% chance for the title, but something unprecedented happened. City suddenly forgot how to play football, and this turned out to be a hindrance in not a single separate match. The club, it seems, was late with the restructuring of the squad, plus lost a couple of key players. And even the great Guardiola doesn't know how to teach the team to win again. We have never seen Guardiola so lost, helpless, and desperate in his entire era. The coach himself was also not ready for such a challenge. He began experiencing poor sleep and digestive issues. Pep constantly started to mention his past merits, but purely in the spirit of Mourinho, and to attack all critics, which is not at all like him. The face torn on nervous soil became a meme. And such a shocking failure of Manchester City and Guardiola, of course, is one of the main football events of the year. It was always offensive for Bayer Leverkusen. The team, like no one else, deserved success, at least because of its persistence. Pharmaceuticals in their history have finished second in the Bundesliga so many times and lost in the finals of cups that many believed Bayer was cursed. The team was nicknamed Leverkusen. And let's be honest, a few years ago, no one believed that Bayer had any chance of overtaking Bavaria in the championship. We usually see Munich's competitor at most in the face of Borussia from Dortmund. Sometimes Red Bull Leipzig shows something impressive, although most often Bavaria takes the title with such ease, as if no one was opposing. Teams simply lacked the class to impose a fight on Munich. But a hero appeared, capable of turning Bayer from a second-half table team into a machine that sweeps everything in its path with his presence. Inexperienced Xabi Alonso came to Bayer and immediately pulled the team from one table and dragged it into the Euro Cups. And in the second, in his season, he was able to roll over Bavaria. Yes, and as Thomas Tuchel was so afraid of Bayer that he mirrored the opponent's scheme and played second fiddle. This was normal for MU Solskjaer in matches with tops. But we have never seen such big eyes and such a narrow pupil at Bavaria. Alonso turned Bayer's squad into a force, and now the tongue does not turn to call him modest. Leverkusen gave a streak without defeat in 51 match, and this is the best series in the history of football. Last season, Bayer became the best team of the top championships. In terms of points scored per match, 2 whole 65 hundredths. Alonso went through football, moreover, at the maximum difficulty settings. How to explain such colossal progress in a minimum amount of time? Bayer's journey to the championship can only be described as a fairy tale, given their nearly 2-decade wait for the title. And yes, let Bayer be defeated in the Champions League final, but it added the German Cup to its salad bowl, and such a great story cannot be ignored in our top. Jean-Pierre Gasperini undeservedly attracts attention. The coach has glorified the movement of relational football and has been promoting it against the positional play of Pep and Guardiola and other German instructors. Atalanta Gasperini has become synonymous with personal pressing and total running after the opponent across the field, without any ties to the zonal structure. Gasperini has made Atalanta a recognizable brand and turned it into a respected club, meeting which in the Euro Cups, no one already thinks what win has brought such an average team to them. Yet until recently, Gasperini remained a coach without a trophy, which is somehow an indicator of success. And the past year has become another miraculous boost for the Bergamasks from the coach. Atalanta has turned into one of the most dangerous teams in the world and was able to defeat even the unbeatable Bayer under Xabi Alonso. Moreover, the domination of Bergamasco in the Europa League final was so overwhelming that Alonso did not make any excuses and admitted that Atalanta was better in every way. The team's victory in the Europa League became an incredible achievement for the modest collective and has already earned a place in this top. Perhaps one would also like to discuss the Bergamasco's overall progress, not just their title. After all, Atalanta is presently a top contender for the Scudetto. After a dismal start to the season, Atalanta has had a 12-match winning streak in the championship and is now deservedly in the top spot. And this is with a very modest budget, not to mention the forced sales of the squad. Before the last season, the club sold key players Rasmus Højlund, Jeremy Boga, Mary Demiral, and Yakima Mele. Before this draw, Bergamo was left without Duan Zapata and 10 Campaneros. And that still didn't stop them. Gasparini revealed the failing De Roon in Milan, turned the wooden Matteo into the best Italian forward in Reggio, made a new Casemiro out of Ederson, and became a target for Manchester City. He revealed one of the main revelations of the past year in Africa's best player, Ademola Lookman. And let's not forget about the one who shot up in Scamacca, who had previously faded in West Ham, and with a team of unsuccessful talents with an unsuccessful coach. And it proves that there is always an alternative path. Its bloom definitely deserved a place in our top. Nobody called the Spanish national team the favorite of the European Championship before the start of the tournament. They didn't expect success from the fury of Roca for obvious reasons. The Spaniards were not trusted after being defeated by the Moroccan national team at the World Cup. Coach Luis de la Fuente only won trophies with the Spanish youth, and he was completely unknown at the adult level. Yes, and the composition of the team from the Pyrenean Peninsula, to be honest, at the Euro was far from perfection, not counting the French or English with their star squads. Agree? Alex Ramiro, Danny Viviano, aging Jesus Sonales, Marcos Llorente, Pablo Sarabia, and Fermin Lopez cannot be called stars of world magnitude. They would hardly find a place in the squads of Germany, France, England, or even Italy, Croatia, and Portugal. But in Spain, they seem to be important players, at least in the dressing room. And in general, at the Euro, Furia actively rotated and did not act out of the application of only one Ramiro. Whether it's a tribute to a weak composition or clever Luis de la Fuente reasonably pretended that, after a heavy season, in which, for example, Lamine Jamal played 53 matches, it's worth saving strength. And the coach's bet paid off. The form of the main stars at the Euro was amazing. Carvajal, Rodri, Jamal, and Nico Williams reached their peak. De La Fuente's football contributed to this. The coach refused from the all-tired tiki-taka. The team's tactics for the last 10 years? The Spaniards stopped being control freaks. Today's Fury plays fast, sharp, and vertical. Of course, it didn't add any reliability to the defense, but the famous Spanish technique has been fully revealed. Just look at Fabian Ruiz's feint, which became one of the main highlights of the Euro, when the halfback tricked so much that he took out 3 German national team players at once. At the Euro, Spain won 7 out of 7 matches. Never took it to a penalty shootout. La Furia went through a tough path. They defeated Croatia, the World Cup semifinalist, Italy, the European Championship holder, the host team, Germany, France, the World Cup finalist, and England, twice the European Championship finalist. The stylish team De La Fuente didn't stop even after the losses of Edri, Carvajal, and the game, and by sight. Despite the setbacks to Deschamps, Southgate, and Martinez, De La Fuente proved that national team football can delight the eye and not kill the interest in the game, and that there's no need to be afraid to move forward in order to win. I think everyone dreamed of such a championship. And in the Euro final, the absolute majority of fans were rooting for Spain. And the 10th most important event of the outgoing year. Liverpool was unable to extend the contract with Salah. That's all. Mohammed Salah announced his departure from Liverpool. The Egyptian has spoken many times before about the difficulties with extending his contract. But now it seems everything is over. Salah reported no progress in the talks. All we can do from this distance is wait and observe. I really want to win the English Premier League with Liverpool. This is my last year at the club, so I want to do something special for the city. Honestly, I still can't believe that Liverpool could let go of such a player in such form. This is just madness. In 18 Premier League matches, Winger scored 17 goals and made 30 assists. He is the leader in races, assists, and bombardments. Right now, Salah is going at the third best pace in Premier League history in terms of goals per game. Salah has scored 38% of Liverpool's goals this season. He's a crucial player for the team, even more important than Trent and Van Dijk, despite being 33 years old. How's such a player an irony in the fact that the matter is exactly in the money? Liverpool, and the irony is that the matter is exactly in the money. Liverpool does not like the conditions that Winger demands. And now such a genius will get to some Paris Saint-Germain. It is written that Parisians offer Salah a 3-year contract with a salary of 500,000 euros a week. There were rumors about Barcelona, but in light of recent events, I don't think the Catalans will go for the Egyptian. Juventus of Turin was also keen on Salah, but they also face financial complexities. Juventus risks missing out on the Champions League. Yesterday, the Turin team also flew past the Super Cup final. Juventus was defeated 1-2 by Milan. Thiago Motta played cautiously once more. Perhaps Juve could have taken the game, realizing their moments. But in addition to the problems with finishing, it was too much in the end. For which he paid, as if on the brow of the old lady again, was Max Allegri. The newly appointed Milan coach, Sergio Conceição, failed with the starting plan but conducted a brilliant time management, turned the game with substitutions. Although for me personally, the main hero, Mike Mignon, gave a simply brilliant pass through the entire field, leading to a penalty. In essence, an assist. You can appreciate this beauty and review the match as a whole on our telecast. I left the link in the description and in the pinned comment. Be sure to take a look there. That's all for today. Thank you for watching and subscribing to the channel. My name is Kirill Cast, and this was your daily dose of football. Peace to your house and Johanga, friends.